when you were a new agent, John, like what was your goal or what should their goal be knowing what you know now?
Yeah, man, it's like you don't know what you don't know. So when I first became a real estate agent, I really didn't even know what the landscape looked like. Like, there's different brokerages out there and different brands. Like, why would I go to one versus another? When I started in real estate, I had already determined when I was going for my license that I was going to work for this small independent local real estate company. My mom was the secretary there, and I knew the owner, and he was just going to help mentor me and coach me, which is what I felt like I needed. But I really didn't understand what are the options that are available to me because I didn't know what I didn't know. So kind of what you're saying, when I talked to a new agent, and I just had this experience happen last week, I got introduced to somebody, they were almost through licensing class, and they were like, okay, I want to get into real estate. What do I do? And kind of like what you said, I said, what's your goal? And like, I really want to understand first and foremost, when I'm talking to an agent getting into the business, what is your financial goal? Because if I can understand your financial goal, we can sort of like piece everything else together. But if you come into the business and you're telling me, hey, I'm getting licensed next month and I want to make $250,000 in my first year, that's going to be a very different conversation than if you say, hey, I'm getting licensed. I was a teacher and I was making $40,000 a year. And I would like to be able to, in my first year, replace that income or get to a point where I'm replacing that income. That's going to be a different conversation. So in the example of last week, when I was talking to this new agent, they were in a situation where they wanted to make money, but they didn't need to make money right out of the gate. So that really altered the course of what my advice was to them and what options they had to them. And I always like to give people options and pros and cons because certain options could be, AJ, do we join a team that's already in the marketplace, already generating leads and opportunities, and you can plug right into that? Yeah, there's going to be a higher fee for that. Or do you build it all from scratch, all by yourself on your own, maybe with the help and mentorship of somebody that's at that company that's either going to sponsor you like we do in EXP or a broker that's going to take you under their wing?
Yeah. So if we were to kind of break it down, like there's, we're sitting down with a new agent and we can provide them with like a menu of options of like what a good goal could be in terms of like direction. I think that would be helpful. And I like what you said, like if we can figure out what your income goal is, we can reverse engineer all of that and build out like a custom plan, both from what brokerage you should join, but also like lead generation wise. What type of lead should you be trying to generate? Should you be a buyer's agent, listing agent? So when I got started, I really was like, I didn't know what I didn't know, and then where I was like most agents, and I just joined the brokerage that I had heard about before getting my license, which was Keller Williams. And the first 6 months, man, I was like, a coconut floating in the water in any direction, right? and and man, I struggled because of that, and it wasn't until I found the right mentor, hired a coach, that I was like, I'm going to be a listing agent. I'm going to prospect for sellers. That's what ended up working for me. So that'd be an option. You could be a listing agent or you could be a buyer's agent. Some kind of just are like, well, whatever falls in my lap. And of course, if you're a listing agent, you'll also work with buyers, but you should have an idea of which one you primarily want to work with because that's going to dictate your lead generation strategy, right? So
I
be a
think that
listing
was
agent or buyer's
unusual,
agent.
though. I don't think many people come out of the gate and they're like, I'm going to be a bad to the bone listing agent and I'm going to do
Yeah, they're
this.
afraid.
So I think that was cool that you chose that. I mean, a lot of agents, I feel like it takes them a couple of years and some transactions under the belt before they make that mental shift of, hey, there's much more leverage in the listing side. But if you're brand new and you're listening to this and you can find a mentor that can help you do that, you're going to find this business to be a whole lot more fun and exciting and scalable than if you're working with buyers. And there's nothing wrong with working with buyers. I mean, I made a great career for myself working with buyers out of the gate primarily. I would say that my first few years in real estate, I was probably 75% buyers, 25% listings. And the listings were really, like you said, a byproduct of buyers that I worked with. But getting out there and understanding like, okay, what's a realistic plan? If you want to make, say, $100,000 in as a real estate agent, what do you need to do in order to make that happen? And what's going to be your allocation of marketing for listers versus for buyer clients? And how are you going to go about that? And we help people do that all the time.
So uh, I think through this conversation and the points we have today, the conversation is just going to open more clarity for you guys. So kind of pivoting into brokerage. So be thinking like, do I want to focus more on listings or buyers? Like John said, typically they go for buyers just because it's more of a confidence thing more than anything. Um, and then, if you're thinking, well, in some markets, being a leasing agent or working with renters can be somewhat lucrative if you're in like a luxury market. But for most of you watching, you're in a market where they really pay pennies for being a leasing agent. So I would not make that your goal. Like the first deal I ever did was a lease in North Carolina, and I got paid like 160 bucks. It was a buyer that ended up deciding not to buy, so they ended up going out and find a rental on their own and just put me down as the agent. And I got like 180 bucks or 160 bucks. That was my first deal ever. That's
That's
not a lot. So, it covered my gas money working with that buyer. So don't make that your goal. And commercial, I think commercial, if that's like in your heart, like your passion, like you want to be a commercial agent, great. I believe it's just there's more of a blueprint available for residential agents. It's much more predictable, repeatable. You can have faster success, and it's more guaranteed. I think being a commercial agent,
a
oftentimes, unless
shorter
you
sales cycle too.
shorter sales cycle, and it's like
Most
you
times
really
when
gotta have
you
the
do
right mentor
commercial,
from day one in commercial, right?
yeah, I mean, you might
Like you need to know
if we
somebody.
if we say the average sales cycle in residential is, from the time you go under contract with them, call it 30 days, the average on commercial may be 12 months or more because you may not get paid until that, you get that lease in place and that might take a year. Like there's just a longer burn. And when I have some guys that are in commercial that work with me at EXP, and they're very successful, but they say, hey, when we sit down and we interview somebody, they need to have enough money to cover themselves when making no money for the first 12 months. And that's
Yeah.
pretty normal in that side. It does tend to be very lucrative if you can make it through that. But it's going to be, a lot fewer deals and a lot bigger ones.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about brokerages a little bit. So this is gonna be assuming that you're going residential. I've probably talked to over the years 10, 20 new agents that said they want to be a commercial agent, and zero of them ever went successfully down that path. So now we're pivoting to focusing primarily 100% actually on if you were to be a residential real estate agent, because I know that's most of your goal. So brokerage, I'm just gonna say I know of two that, and I study this and I know all the models. So I know two that I would recommend to a new agent, and the rest is kind of like, why would you even join that brokerage? It doesn't even make any sense. And those two are going to be my first brokerage I was with, which is Keller Williams. Great company. I enjoyed my time there. I just found a superior model to be for my situation and for a lot of agent situations is EXP. So those would be my two recommendations for split, for cap, for training, for EXP specifically now for the stock agent equity opportunity and for the revenue share opportunity, multiple streams of income as a real estate agent. But Keller Williams really does a good job, I think, for out of most brokerages for training, for culture. So those would be my two. Would you have more than just EXP? Because obviously we're both EXP agents, John. So I know that's your number one. But any other ones that you could recommend, maybe?
Well, I think if you're a new agent, listen to this. The first thing that you need to understand is that every brokerage wants you.
Right.
And and
Good point.
we're looking at like a career. A lot of times we need to apply for a position and there might be one opening and 100 applicants. So you're sort of interviewing and selling yourself on why you would be a good person for that role. It's kind of weird when you come over to real estate and you're brand new because everybody's going to tell you that they want you and that you're going to be great and you're going to do great and they're going to want you at their firm. The thing to understand about that is there's a transfer of value happening, whether you know it or not. And the reason that every brokerage wants you and is going to try to get you to join with them is because the brokerage model is, quite frankly, in our industry broke because most brokers provide whatever they provide and nothing more. And you don't really cost them money because they're doing those things for the agents they have already. So if you join that brokerage, it costs them nothing, but you may make nothing as a result. So it's really important that you understand that you're interviewing the broker, not the other way around. And you should be asking things specifically like, if I were to join this brokerage, what can you provide me in the form of training, mentorship, and even more importantly, opportunities, leads? Like, what's my pathway with you to getting to my first 3 transactions? If they can't clearly articulate that for you as a new agent, I would be very scared and probably head out the door soon thereafter. Now, when you ask me, AJ, like what would be my 2 brokerages, obviously I'm at EXP, but before I was with EXP, I was an independent. And I would look at it like in your marketplace, wherever you are listening to this, there's only 2 options, in my opinion. There's an independent who may have a stronghold on your market, who may still be the dominant player in your market. And there's EXP. I believe in EXP as the number one because I believe you can get all the coaching, training, and mentoring you need for free at EXP with a very low cost and split, very low cap. And you're going to be able to learn how to do the things that you need to do to be successful. And I believe that the training that we have is better than Keller Williams or any other company. And I've been with Keller Williams too. So they have a good training program, as you said, AJ, but it's not as good as EXP's. And we could dive into particulars of why that is. I'd be happy to do that with anybody interested. But I believe that if there's a strong independent in your market and you need to make money today and get your name out today, you may find it a quicker path to success in your first 3 transactions with them. The caveat to that is you're going to really pay for that. You're probably going to be on a 50-50 split. You're going to have no upward trajectory. You're going to have a glass ceiling above you. You may get, the last spoils of the leads and opportunities that come through, meaning they're going to give them to their top agents first, their more seasoned agents second, and their new agents last. So, for me, EXP is a shortcut around all of that. While it may be a benefit to you out of the gate to be with them, I think it was going to hurt you and slow down your ultimate long-term success moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it with the major player maybe being an independent brokerage as an option. I like that too, and that made me think really like the other question that a lot of new agents probably have is team or no team. John, you ran a very successful team, and I think for a lot of new agents, that's a great option. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming out of a career where you were getting a weekly paycheck and you're getting into real estate and you're nervous about bridging the gap between your last paycheck and your first commission check, I say you go team all the way. If you took every dollar I had away from me, you couldn't take away my knowledge. And if you drop me in any market in the US and I had to provide for myself and my family, knowing what I know, having run teams at a very high level, if I was brand new in a new market, I would join a team and I would join the best team who's got the most robust lead gen platform, who can show me what their plan is for distributing those leads to their team members. And I would look for an opportunity where the distribution was fair, where the opportunity was visible and tangible, and the coaching and mentoring was available. I would join that team, even though it's probably going to cost me 50% of my commission, because it's not about the commission split as much as it's about getting those deals and making income. So that would be the easiest and fastest way to bridge the gap between my last paycheck and my first commission check. And you're not going to start from scratch putting all those pieces into place in order to generate the leads that then have to be converted into clients that then have to be sold a home and go under contract. You're not going to do that as fast by yourself, even with all the right steps in the right order that we can coach and mentor and train you to, than you could by joining an existing team where those leads are already coming in today.